Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another webinar of Britannica. Perfect. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining. We will start our webinar very soon. We're just going to let more people to join. All right. Thank you for all of you who have joined. I can see some of the familiar names over here. Um, Thank you for joining. All right. Let's start in one more minute. All right, I guess we can get started. Good afternoon once again, everyone. So welcome everyone to today's Britannica Education webinar. Today's webinar is specifically talking about, it's very um, time appropriate. I know that a lot of you are, at the beginning of the school year right now. And so we would like to share a little bit of insights, basically. Especially, I know that some of you here, you have already started using Britannica Studio, um, and um, and of course, in this particular webinar, we would like to share with you like how to do better prompting. I know we got this feedback from you, and we would like to share this some insights today on how to do better prompting in Britannica Studio. But I also would like to say hello to all of you who have still have not used Britannica Studio yet. I would love to still welcome you, and I hope that I'm pretty sure the session today, even though that you have not used it yet, but you will be able to still see how Britannica Studio in actions, helping teachers in building lesson materials accurately and fastly as well. So I would like to. So today's webinar is basically it's a prompt, create, and teach. So it's a back to school planning with Britannica Studio. I would like to introduce myself and my co-presenter. My name is Cristiano Kondohutomo, and you can call me Chris. I am the Senior Customer Success Manager from Britannica Education Asia. My role is to support our existing customers to ensure they get the most value out of our products. And as usual, I am accompanied by my co host, the one and only Christopher Fethuyen. Christopher, maybe you can introduce yourself as well.
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to be with us. Yes, as Chris said, I'm the other Chris on today's hosting panel, and I'm the head of curriculum and development for Britannica in Asia, supporting product deployment and ensuring that our clients and prospects really get the best out of their time with us.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. And both of us will be your co-hosts for today's webinar. As what you can expect out of this webinar today. So as Chris has already shared the screen here. We're going to talk a little bit about, the classroom reality. So just what problems that basically you're currently having, especially at the back to school, at the first part of the academic year. So what are the things that you're struggling with? And we can jump into the insights that Christopher will be sharing. So how to do good prompting, basically. But of course, in order to do that, we need to also know what does bad prompting look like as well for Britannica Studio? So we're gonna see that later, and then of course along the way, Christopher has already prepared some examples, and he will be able to show you live examples and demonstrations in how to do good prompting within Britannica Studio across different subjects, across different grade levels, and probably even we're going to talk about different curriculums as well. And after that, of course, we are opening the we are opening the time for Q&A from you. Okay, so now, for those of you, I'm pretty sure a lot of you who have known Britannica Educations, but in case you're pretty new to Britannica Educations, Britannica itself has been around for more than 250 years, and we have been in the business of providing factual informations to people. Of course, a lot of you probably have heard the brand Encyclopedia Britannica. Um, so we have more than 200,000 verified media assets delivered in more than 80 different languages. And then we have been reaching to more than 150 million students globally. And you can see as well that we have a pretty high client retention as well. Um, Next slide, please. So we deliver innovative solutions that enable educators and also improve the student outcomes. So we are bringing in together the pedagogy, instructional design, world-class content, and technology to bring quality products for classroom, research, and also professional learning. So that's a little bit about Britannica Educations. And as you know, in every webinars, we always like to start with the end. What is it that you can expect to leave this webinar with? So by the end of this webinar, we hope that you will be able to understand how to write clearer, more purposeful prompts in Britannica Studio. And you can actually generate using Britannica Studio, you can generate trusted age-appropriate materials as well. You will be able to develop several activities from one starting point, which is Britannica Studio. How to adapt resources for different learners. And I think this is often deemed as one of the most time-consuming thing for teachers to do as well. And then also, of course, how to keep professional judgment at the center, even though you are supported by a lot of different technologies out there. So that's basically, those are the points that we can expect you to get out of this webinar. But before we get started with our webinar, maybe we can actually do a little bit of engagement activity. We would like to understand, what do you think, how long should it take to write a solid prompt? So you probably have used, so a lot of you have used Britannica Studio, and maybe you have used other tools as well. Just uh, out of curiosity, how long should it take to write a solid prompt? What do you think? And if the Britannica team can please help to launch the poll now, that would be great. Perfect. Now, there you can see the poll is shown on your screen. And please let us know how long should it take to write a solid prompt? Is it 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, or is it 3 minutes? Or maybe we can ask the question can be phrased differently. How long do you how long does it usually take for you to write a prompt for you to create your lesson materials? Is it 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes? All right, whenever we are ready, Britannica team, if you
Mhm.
can please help to show the result.
Yeah, I'm just going to give it 2 more seconds. I can just see a few more people answering at the moment.
All right,
Very excited looking at these numbers.
great.
Alrighty, let's have a look and throw it up, share the results. Okay, can we all see that? What do we think?
Yes. Okay, so we got 40% and 35% is basically answering 1 to 2 minutes to write a solid prompt. We have 15% showing answering 30 seconds and 10% showing answering 3 minutes. What do you think, Christopher?
I think this is very interesting. This is also gratifying that people are sitting around the 1, 2, 3 minute mark. I think one of the first people who introduced me to AI back in the early days told me you should view writing a prompt like an investment. So if you
Mm,
take a little bit longer on that prompt, you're going to save time down the line. And I think our audience today all appears to be on board with that general principle. So that's very good to see.
that's a very wise feedback that you got over there. All right, so perfect. And so thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, audience. And so if you can please go to the next slide. Back to school. So we are now in the back to school period. And of course, it's always one of the hectic period of teaching for teachers, right? Or for schools, not just for teachers, but also for the schools, the administrators as well. And the start of a new school year, especially for teachers here, always bring new classes and unfamiliar learners. And we as teachers, we will be assigned new classes, or of course, we will get a fresh batch of students as well. And maybe there's a new curriculum expectations, maybe there's a shift in the curriculum as well. And of course, with a fresh batch of learners, uh, it will come mixed abilities and also learning needs as well. That also, of course, for us as the teachers, we need to cater to all of those as well, which means there will be more resources for us to prepare. And, of course, with the whole hecticness and everything, we have very little additional time, basically, to create more resources. So, and I maybe, if I can get uh, uh, some of you, saying yes. If you feel this is basically true to you, maybe you can actually answer yes as well in the chat window. So we can actually move on to the next slide as well, please. And so we have this planning time, this additional planning time that we need to do. And, where does that time go, basically? So we usually, as teachers, we need to find reliable informations. We need to rewrite content for students. Maybe in one class we have different level of reading ability for students, so we need to adjust the reading level as well. Um, we know that maybe some of the students in the classrooms, they will be introduced to new vocabulary, and therefore they will need to be they need to understand this new vocabularies to be able to understand the concept. So how can we do that as well? How can we prepare them with this new set of vocabularies? Um, of course, assessments, how to create questions, how to create assessments. And like what I said earlier, we have in a class right now, we would have different mix ability or mix levels of learning. And how can we bring everything together for classroom use? How can we bring everything together to create a coherent and also easy to deliver, easy to understand, and effective lesson plan basically for our students? So that is basically the big bulk of the planning time for us teachers. So that's I think a lot of you here who attend this webinar today will agree to these 7 points as well. I would like to hear more feedback from you, in case I'm missing anything over here in the slide. So now we have Christopher over here today, who is our head of curriculum and development in Britannica Asia. So, Chris, we would like to learn. We would like to understand. How can we write a better prompt, especially within the context of Britannica Studio over here? Can you please help to impart some wisdom to us? Thank you.
Well, I would never proponent to be imparting wisdom, but I will try to share something vaguely useful along the way. Thank you very much for all that framing work and setting me up. So, as we travel around and we speak to our clients, our partners, and any institution who's adopting ed tech, the one consistent issue that we come up with technology is that nobody starts with the learning. Everybody starts with a tool first. And this is true of the prompt. Many people just want to get the information down as fast as they can, but they don't realize, or maybe they do realize, but they don't take the time to apply it, that we need to make key teaching decisions first, not the AI making them for us. So
Mm,
when we get that the right way around, we win half the battle. So a few key questions, such as who are the learners? Understanding grade level, backgrounds, interests, and specific diverse learning needs. What should they learn? So yeah, there's obviously core curriculum objectives to be discussed, standards, and essential questions. But you've also got to ensure that it's appropriate and it's relevant to their context and what they understand. What do they know? No student knows nothing. That's just not true. I mean, all students come into a classroom with any teacher, they have some baseline, they have some experience, they will understand something in any given topic. So helping to identify prior knowledge as well as misconceptions that will need to be addressed can help us to build solid prompts. What challenge is right is also a good topic because we were discussing at a conference recently the idea of productive struggle. I know I sound a little bit crazy when I say that phrase, but I do believe in it. I do stand by it. But challenge needs to be carefully balanced. What's too much, what's just right, and what's not enough. These three things have to be considered carefully. How will it be used? So determine the exact classroom activity, the discussion, and the structure of where you want to go. It's not just spitting out a bald-faced material. You need to understand how you will then turn it into the classroom practice, into the good pedagogy. And what is the evidence? This is often forgotten with AI. How will we measure understanding and mastery? It's not a case of just they can read, they can recite. We need to understand how to probe recall, how to probe depth of knowledge in our students. And so the prompt framework we're now working with inside Studio looks a lot like this. And I know this looks a lot. And as I move through this, it's going to look like a lot. But once you mold your practice into having this the whole time, it's not a lot and it saves you down the line. So it's basic topic. What is the content? Learners, who's it for? And you need to tell it this. If AI is not smart, they say artificial intelligence, but it's fundamentally not intelligent. If you don't tell it who it's for, it won't know. Learning goal. And again, KG said at the start, we like to start with the end. So I've put the end in the middle here. What is the goal? What do we want? The context, curriculum, local setting matters. We're part of the Asia team, and education in Asia, even one Asian country, is not one curriculum or one learning context. So we need to be cognizantly aware of this. And the output, what do we want? We need to ask ourselves, what are we wanting from the tool? And so, weak prompt, purposeful prompt. I don't think I really need to explain this. I don't want to patronize anyone, but make a lesson about classroom rules. What's that? I mean, I think as teachers, we have all done the lesson about classroom rules. And I think all teachers will be aware, depending on the 30 new children that trot into your class, we have to maybe be flexible with the rules. We identify this rule is going to be more important, this rule is not going to be important. So then you arrive at the right-hand side. So we're going to be welcoming back to school passage. I don't know, maybe some teachers want to be a little stricter, so make a straight to the point back to school passage for grade 5 students. Positive classroom community. So here we're really now giving it guidance on what we want to achieve. We're not just setting down the law, we're building a community. Help them to understand. Again, a really important phrase there is it gives the AI more color to know what it's up to. And including realistic examples. I think this is a great example at the end here because what are the examples? In what context are we applying this? The first prompt won't get you that, but the second prompt will get you that. And so why the second prompt works? It's these 6 key things that we need in everything. So the topic is clearly defined. It specifies the year level. It gives you an intended outcome. It gives you the classroom context and what we're trying to build, highlights key concepts to make sure they're inbuilt, and defined a resourcing format. So it's giving you that output that you can really take to class. Oh, so we're going to look at the generate, review, and refine idea here. So the first output is a starting point. It's not necessarily the finished resource. And when we use a tool like Studio, we're able to keep building, keep refining, and develop things further. So key thing, like Chris mentioned, simplify or increase the language level. Differentiation is vital. We need tools that can do this, but often with the open sourcing tools, you run the risk of it's going to pull external information in unawares. Change the length. Changing the length is not as simple as just deleting paragraph 3. As teachers, we all know that. I've done it multiple times. You suddenly delete the paragraph to speed up the lesson, and key concepts 2, 3, and 4 are missing. Oops. So we need to be careful with that. Add local examples. AI doesn't necessarily know where you are. It doesn't necessarily care. But as teachers in an international context, we need to ensure that what we give to our students is something they can relate to and really hold on to. Adjust the tone. We can tell humans to adjust the tone, but we must also tell AI it needs to adjust its tone. Like we saw, do you want to be welcoming, friendly, academic, strict, harsh? You know, all of these tones are perfectly valid in a classroom setting, but we need to make sure they're applied correctly and that the AI is doing that as well. Next step is specific content focuses. And this means at some point, maybe we need to pinpoint or highlight something or other areas we need to back off on. So we need to tell the AI the balance of what we want. Add support or add challenge. This also speaks to differentiation slightly, but not on the language level. For some students in a concept, they're going to need it backed off a bit and made to be more digestible. Whereas some top level students, you're going to need to make it more challenging so that they don't get bored with the topic. And we can use this to achieve those ends. And of course, improve the question. Always, always, always improve the question. Especially with Studio, we've really focused on how to get top level questioning out of it because good questioning and good probing is a top part of education at any level. And then you tailor the output to your exact classroom needs. Simple. So we're going to move into demos now. You're going to need to bear with me, please, because I have not pre-prepared the studio side. We're going to do that all in real time. So thank you to KG who made these prompts, topics, and suggestions for me based on his market research. So what the prompts we've worked through today, I have built based on feedback that's come from customers of ours. So I am going to jump out of this. What's the best way to do this? I'm going to knock the share off for 30 seconds. And then when we all come back, what's this? I don't know. We should go straight to Studio, like magic. So we are going today to work through the Build It, Teach It tool primarily with these, because then we can show you the different features of what we want to build. So I'm being lazy. I'm just going to copy and paste my prompt in. You can see a nice big prompt there. I'm going to tell it my grade level. We're going to go for grade 5, and we're going to go for short, just because the long passage, we want to be efficient on time. We're also going to have a look at some suggested topics based on this prompt. So what else do we want to add?
Christopher.
Yes.
Yeah, so this topic is basically for science, grade 5.
Yes, I'm just about to talk through the whole prompt before I go
All
in
right.
because I'm not able to edit the prompt. So as KG correctly said, yes, we are on grade 4 or 5 science. We're just being flexible, exploring how living things depend on one another within an ecosystem. So that's our basic topic. We then have asked it, begin with a relatable scenario in which wetland, forest, or coastal habitat experiences environmental change. Then explain. So I've given it very specific instruction as to how to order and build the passage. Further to that, I said draw on contrasting ecosystems from Asia and another world region. So there's your compare and contrast. So we're in the Asia region. So we've made sure to park it within a context that they'll understand. Okay, I've now also, here's the language context. Use CEFR A1 to B1 English with scientific vocabulary. Introduce naturally. Okay, so I was told I don't want it pulled out as standalone teaching point. I want it in there, but I want it introduced in a natural sense and explained in context. And structure the passage to move from observation to scientific explanation and then to prediction. So again, I'm being very specific in how I want my class flow to run so that the AI supports that. And then actually, this is quite a nice trick as well. I've asked it to, through this, pose a question. So what are we trying to achieve? What's the end result in the can-do statement we want to focus on? And end with 3 age-appropriate questions. Simple. We will show you the age-appropriate questions once we've generated the main passage, and we will go into the depth of knowledge tool. So you can see now the AI is thinking. It's diving into Britannica's closed and verified bank of resources to pull its accurate classroom information. I would like to just tell everyone we have been having Wi-Fi problems all day, so please bear with us. That was very fast. Excellent. Okay, so we can see the prompt is still sat there. But what we have now is this. Now, for grade 5, this is a robust and very strong passage. Okay? But you can see it's constructed it in the way I've asked for. So begin with a relatable scenario. And it's giving me its relatable scenario. Then it's giving me the connections that I specifically requested. And you can see, so you can see in here, bacteria and fungi. It's built in those more scientific terminologies naturally into it. So a teacher can then pull those out and it's be natural exposition to new language. It's then given me the compare and contrast I asked for. Nice and easy. Just reading through here. Yep. And you can see in there Rocky Coast in Asia. And then if I can see the other, just looking for the other reference. So obviously, remember, I did not read this beforehand. Okay, and then so it's giving me more adapt and codependence, which I specifically requested. Changes, we also requested. And then at the bottom here, it's built in the three big questions. So this is quite clever that it can build this into the main passage, or as I'll show you in 1 second, you can take them out with the passage. So these are quite clever, and they're using very nice reference backs to the material. So this is really good for probing proper understanding and ensuring your students didn't just skim read like I just did, but they actually do understand it.
This is
So
actually very, very interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but this
no,
is very
please.
interesting. I think this is the first time I've seen a prompt to create a passage with, asking to create three questions at the end to check your understanding. And I know that I spoke to, if I'm not mistaken, maybe some teachers in Indonesia. The way the Indonesian curriculum works is basically when they want to give questions, they would like to give some context first to that question.
Mhm.
And I think having this passage, being able to create this passage and then creating the questions related to the passage is very, very good. Basically, this comes in. Can this be exported right away, like into one single document that can be shared with students?
Yeah, of course. You can two clicks, actions, export, and then you can go through Word, PDF, or Drive, or integrations if your institution has chosen that. Google Classroom will be present very soon. And then, yes, so maybe you don't need the sources, so you just export the passage. That's you done.
Excellent.
So I
All
just
right.
used
Thank you.
I used the keyword there, sources, and because we're Britannica, we love verification and trust. I just want to highlight that with everything produced within this tool, you get the bank of sources provided. So you can also instantly click these. It takes you to the relevant source within Britannica, and you are able to use that as extension or expansion material within your class.
And
So
actually, one use case as well of those sources, and this is something that I also learned from one of our customers as well, or the users of Britannica Studio. They created a passage like this, and then they of course they get sources from Britannica Studio, and then they actually use some of the articles in in the sources to give to students before the teacher is delivering this topic. So they expect the students to do some reading first before they're even presented with this topic. So the teacher is basically trying to do a flip learning um, methodology basically for the classroom. So that's just basically one use case of the sources.
no, I think that's a really excellent use case of how to take Britannica more effectively into a classroom because some people call it flip learning, some people call it pre-teach.
Mm,
But I think especially in the multi-language environments, the pre-teaching phase is really important. And you're right, the ability to take these articles and give it to the students is really important and really will increase the effectiveness of the class contact time. Lovely. Okay, so with this passage, I'm going to demonstrate one additional tool of vital importance, and we are going to look at the depth of knowledge question builder to support our scientific understanding. So I'm going to ask it for all four. All of our teachers here will know we can start with basic recall. We then move to skills and concepts expansion, then strategic thinking analysis, and of course, extended thinking and reasoning. So I'm going to ask it for all four because I want to show the comparison of these. But what we found with depth of knowledge is actually the extended reasoning questions can really behave like a whole pre-packaged class or group project. The strength of what they're able to do is really impressive.
mm. And I
So
think
here we
for some of the feedback as well from some of the teachers that I've spoken to in Asia, sometimes they don't really understand the concept of DOK, the depth
Mm,
of knowledge, but they use, as soon as I mention about Bloom's taxonomy, they will
yes.
understand that it's pretty much the same thing, basically. In case some of you in the webinar today are wondering what is DOK. So it's pretty much the same with the Bloom's taxonomy.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you for clearing that up. So I'm looking at the answer key because it's nicely broken down and it shows me the answers as well. So we have in the recall section just a very basic. What is the name for plants who make their own food using sunlight, water, and air? Excellent example answer. Bang. Really simple. No further required work for the teacher. Then we move to skills and concepts, and we're upping the ante a little bit here. So explain how a decrease in bulrushes, that's a bird for anyone who's not familiar with European birds, in a wetland could affect the heron population. Okay, heron is another bird. Just I think herons are actually more prevalent out in Asia, but they are quite common in Northern Europe wetlands. So we're asking the students here to use their knowledge, their skills, and apply the concepts and discuss what's the impact. So this is a cause and effect question. And they've learned that skill in the lesson passage we built, and now we're asking them to apply it. Now, the strategic thinking. I really love the last two sections of questions because I think if I were still in a classroom, I would take these in as projects straight away. So let's have a look at this number 7. Explain what would likely happen to the herons in a wetland if all the frogs disappeared. Use evidence from the sources. Okay, so it says use evidence from the sources. All your sources are sat right here, nice and easy to share with your students. It's given you an example answer here just as the key highlights. But I think with this, you could be looking at, presentation project, poster project, group collaborations, and things like this to really extend and enhance the learning. But rather than the teacher having to conceptualize and go through all of that, the AI here has taken that responsibility upon itself, built in 100% match with the original lesson. And of course, the extended thinking. So this is really asking the students to remove themselves from the classroom context and think bigger. So I love the way it builds these. So you are a scientist who has noticed that the plants are starting to wilt. Oh dear, very sad. So you have to create a plan for your community, identify the problem, predict the effects, and suggest an action that the community could take to help protect the wetland. And I think this is really fantastic because it's asking the bigger questions. It's giving students the chance to show off a much wider set of their cognitive abilities and engage in the real world, which at the end of the day, as teachers, we have to get them ready for the real world. So I get really excited looking at these questions. I hope everyone else does too.
Mm. Sorry, just want to share one another use case as well. So I just learned yesterday that one math teacher, he actually created a class project based on one of the extended thinking questions that was generated by Britannica Studio. And I thought, again, I love, speaking to teachers who are using our products and then, learn from them as well, like creative ways of, like using or applying our products as well. So I myself have never thought of using the extended thinking as a project, but he basically shared like, yeah, this is a project, and I thought that's very cool. And he basically shared, I got this idea from uh, going to Britannica Studio, putting a prompt, and then asking for extended thinking
Mhm.
questions. I thought that's great.
Oh, it's a brilliant use case, and I'm really happy to see teachers are picking up the extended use cases of these. Okay, so thank you very much for that. We are going to move to our next prompt now. So we're going to go back to home on here. We're just going to have a quick look-see into this. In the name of time, we're going to start moving down a bit. Chris, what topic do you think we should hit next? Do you want
Uh,
mathematics,
we
English, or geography?
we had science already, and math is interesting.
Okay,
So what do you
let's
have
have a
for math?
I did
Yeah,
make one
let's do it.
as per request. Modeling a sustainable school. Okay, so we're going to go back to our studio. We're going to restart this with a new prompt. Now that said grade 7 and 8. Let's just go for grade 8 just to push it along a little bit. So in this prompt, we're following the same structure. It's a rinse repeat structure. Also, just sometimes we need to ask it for things, sometimes we don't. But for in mathematics, we are asking them to evaluate how a fictional school could reduce electricity or water consumption, producing realistic and manageable data sets covering monthly usage, student population costs. So we're being really specific. We're telling it all the metrics we very carefully want to put in here. Require the students to work with ratios, percentages, rates, proportional reasoning, tables, and graphical representations. Goodness, I was not a good math student in school, so this prompt scares me a little. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to help them with some data interpretation techniques and a little bit of representation. And we're going to hit generate. So we're really focusing on the theoretical and the application side of mathematics. Obviously, teachers need to teach mathematics with a lot of practice and repetition, but it's important not to forget the contextual and extrapolated side of mathematics, which Britannica and Britannica Studio really can support with extracting these concepts into an applied and really tangible way for students, especially seriously, students like myself in mathematics. I didn't get on with the numbers very well, but if you present it to me in an extrapolated way, I will get on with it a lot better. Alrighty, so you can see the grade 8 passage here, quite a bit bigger. And you can see what it's done is because I've asked it for all these individual sections, it has broken it up much more carefully for me. Okay, so how are we selecting effective graph? So it's really guiding the students on how to do these things. Now, presumably the teacher would provide the numbers and the mathematics, but where Studio is really supporting here is with a resource that explains and extrapolates and gives them real world tools to help them out. So you can see here, calculating and comparing efficiency improvements. So I've told it what I want, the mathematical theory I want in there. But Studio's gone so far, Studio's now attaching it to the real world example that we've given it to work with. You can see here, it is working through providing mathematical examples and formulas to help the students practice and understand and turn, their practice book exercises into a wider project and understanding. It's come down all the way down, so synthesizing results and making recommendations. So it's providing this guide to very much help you turn it into what you can understand and really work with. And so that is a nice, robust passage. You can see it's worked through everything I've asked for very, very specifically. It's even added constraints and considering alternatives. So it's giving you an off ramp to help you expand and consider other options on the way through. And I think a lot of people, even I think on the team, we do admit that Britannica, we're not set up for practicing mathematics or learning formulas. But when it comes to how do we employ maths in the real world, Britannica Studio can really shine through with helping mathematics teachers to construct that. Chris, have you
And
got
I
any
think
thoughts?
yeah, I mean, this topic is, I think, probably we look at the math units, it's probably, very relatable to statistics. And so I think this is great. So teachers can actually deliver the probably like the basics of the what the students need to understand about statistics. But again, I agree with you. Britannica Studio is a great way, even for math. A lot of people think that Britannica Studio is not good for math, but it's actually been used by some math teachers um, to, just like what you said, connecting the mathematical concept to real life applications. And I think, that is basically what is important, right? At the end of the day, we're not trying to really understand um, the whole calculations, but we want to understand like, so a statistic is a very common concept that we find even today in the real life, right? So, and how we can actually identify in these situations, we're going to use statistics concept, and how what kind of statistic concept that we're going to apply to this particular scenario. And I love that if we can do that here as well in Britannica Studio. Can we
Absolutely.
create can we create questions as well?
Of course, we can create questions. We are going to look at the Assess It tool. Um, let's do let's do these four. That's for four, and we are going to look at the assessment accompanying. So, of course, this is we showed you the depth of knowledge questions, which are much more extended and expanded. But the Assess It tool is designed to build multiple formats of true summative style assessments to support teachers and students. So here we go, building up. So you can see it's given me there our 5 true and false questions, nice and easy. It's also given me some matching. So terminology, definition, match these next to each other. Fill in the blank sentence. So starting to expand kind of a little bit of extra language use and development. And finally, a multiple choice question, every student's favorite when you don't know what you should answer. So again, you can add in written response. I'm not sure many math teachers care for written response, but we will show you it anyway, just to see how far it can go with this and probing students. And so you always know with these tools, because it's built up within our ecosystem, A will always match B. There's no risk like with the open source tools of it pulling in something extraterrestrial or something we didn't need in there. It's always going to be carefully matched up. So you can see at the end there's our nice written response questions. Describe how you would analyze a data table to find months. And see, that's an excellent question, actually. A lot of questions in mathematics revolve around the keyword of analyze. And of course, we have the answer key here. So, teachers have their own agency. We don't want to take over from the teacher, but a little bit of support here. And what's really nice with the assess it, it gives you the answer, but it also gives you an explanation. So any good teacher will always tell the student the answer is this and why it is. So Britannica Studio is here to very much support that. And ensure that we're saving teachers time and cutting a bit of the faff and leaving them up to what's important with a teacher, which is the human touch of teaching students. Even with the written response, it gives you the model answer plus the explanation. So it's very helpful to ensure efficiency in the classroom.
I love this. I think maybe a lot of the students probably feel math assessment is all about numbers, but I like that some of the questions over here, they're actually in words, basically assessing how students really understand the concept, and just maybe asking like, if we are in a certain scenario, like how should it be done, basically based on the math concept that we just learned. I like this.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. So I think we've got time. I want to do one more quickly. I want to do the English language one because I want to show off level it. So I'm going to behave and do this in double quick time. So we're going to look at English language arts driven from the Common Core understanding. And we're going to be looking at grades 7 and 8. So what do we have here? So language arts focused on a young person experiencing an unfamiliar place for the first time, and we're asking it to set a story, okay? Building up a protagonist. We've given it the language level that we want. But remaining accessible to multilingual learners. Very important filter in there. After the text, provide a note identifying, not explaining the use of imagery. Okay, so we've asked it to prepare a text and we've asked it to provide some information on that text. Narrative perspective shifts, and we're going to generate. I promise to keep this in under 5 minutes so that we can do the wrap up and everyone can go about their day on time. But I feel very important to share the differentiation tool. Okay, so there we are. It's given us our explanation as to how we construct all of this and a guide talking you through all the different elements that we've asked for. So, internal conflict, developing conflict and shifting perspective. It's even giving you some of the grammatical breakdown in here as to how we would achieve that in writing. It's coming here, it's providing symbols and ideals. Oh, Moby Dick. That was always one of my favorite books to teach in a classroom. Absolutely fantastic, full of symbolism. And it's giving you really a careful bit by bit breakdown of examples. Like I said, the grammar point and how to really do it in a careful form. And then at the end, it's giving you how to progress from the evidence to the interpretation. And this is really important because sometimes making that conversion can be tricky. So if we have a tool that can genuinely support this level of ELL development, that's really important. And again, it's giving you all the sourcing here. So I didn't even know there was this much philosophy of art. And it's giving you a really comprehensive breakdown and taking you through different eras and different pieces of important writing that will appear in every English language curriculum globally, and ensuring that our students get a broad-based support understanding and breakdown of how to build this skill up. So, in conclusion for this, we're going to look at Level It, which is the differentiation tool, because I've asked this for grade 8, but in our ELL international environments, we know there are going to be students of all different skills in there. So what's great with Level It is you can ask it for 3 grade levels simultaneously. I'm going to ask it for 6 and 7. But remember, differentiation isn't only about going down the way, going up can also be important for some of our students. So I'm going to ask it for no, let's ask it for 5, 6, and 12, just to be a bit more dramatic. I think we consistently get feedback from our teachers that use this that Level It is one of the cornerstone tools that they love. It's worry-free, hassle-free differentiation, which is obviously absolutely critical in our classrooms, but takes up a lot of time. Okay, and what you see here is it's retained the same structure, the same heading breakdown, and the same flow through, but it's completely altered the language to be suitable for the levels I've asked of it. You see grade 6 against the original, still much simpler, much easier to read. But if we go up to grade 12, you can see, so not only is the language more dense and more complicated, there is some more information there to push the grade 12 learners. It's introducing additional concepts there to keep them occupied, keep them happy. And this is really important because we must remember engaging the struggling students, but also entertaining the high level students is a careful balancing act. And what you can see here is a very well threaded needle based on a central resource, but then accommodating every single learner that we will have inside our classrooms. Okay, and that completes the walkthrough portions of our webinar today. I am going to jump to here, I think. I'm going to hand back to KG if you want to walk us through the wrap up.
Yeah, so I guess that's very, very, interesting to be able to see how to do prompting, like what you have already shown us, and it's always very interesting to see what Britannica Studio can deliver. And even though I have already been exposed to Britannica Studio for a few months now, but I keep learning new things that we can do with Britannica Studio. And okay, so we're almost at the end of our webinar over here. So I guess, for those of you who have already started using Britannica Studio, I know that you have already started getting the benefits of Britannica Studio. It's definitely shorten the amount of time for you to prepare lesson materials. So you don't need to worry about, finding trusted content. Content in Britannica, they're always verified and trusted. And uh, you don't need to, if you want to create an assessment, how to create the assessment. And then you can see as well that even at Britannica Studio, we have the OK capability as well. So we can create not just any questions, but questions with different levels of thinking hierarchy as well, basically just to challenge your students even further. And reading levels adjustments, the level it. We didn't see the vocabulary and also summaries, but I think these are two are very straightforward in case you have a certain particular passage or learning materials, maybe from your own textbook or maybe from any other sources, and you would like to just create a summary out of it, you can actually do that as well within seconds in Britannica Studio. So, and there's plenty, or I mentioned as well, some use cases of, the output of Britannica Studio can be used for a project, can be used for flipped learning resources as well. So there's really a lot of use cases that we can use over here. So um, I would like to touch on the teacher ownership over here, but I would like to let Christopher. I think there's a very strong message here as well. Of course, AI and all of this technology can help teachers, but you mentioned it before in our previous webinar. Teachers should always be at the center of everything. So, do you have anything that you would like to say specifically on this?
Yeah, just very briefly, but I think the line there, the teacher still made all the important decisions, is the key. There's not really much expansion required beyond that. And with the studio, with anything Britannica, we'll always ensure that the teacher is back at the center, not a data center in the desert taking away these important educational choices for our kids.
Right. Yes. So, teachers, we have been hearing like AI will take over or whatever. Of course, that's not true. Teacher is still very, very much, needed basically in this teaching and learning process. So, Christopher, if there's a, takeaway that the final takeaway that the teachers, our audience today, should see, should take basically. So, what are those? The one principle for them to remember.
I think the one principle to remember is what I said back at the start that somebody once taught me is that a good prompt is like an investment in your own time and quality. If you spend those extra 3 or 4 minutes on that prompt, like I showed you there with the much longer prompts to write, what you get back in quality and in educational value will be multiple times higher.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I would like to apologize that we are now at time and then we don't have time for Q&A, unfortunately, in this webinar today. But you can see there on the screen, there's an email address of mine. Feel free if you would like to reach out to me. I know some of you have been, reaching out to me. We have been working together as well. But in case some of you are interested with trialing Britannica Studio, feel free to reach out to me. That's my email address over there. And for those of you who are using Britannica Studio already, in case you would like to learn more, okay, how can we um, engage the students more? How can I use Britannica Studio to, to be more effective, basically? So please also don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to continue the conversations with you, not just at the end of this webinar and during this webinar. So you have my email address over there. Feel free to take a screenshot or take a note of it. But we are now at the end of our webinar, and I just would like to say thank you very much for all of you who have stayed with us in the last 1 hour and have. I hope the session today has been very helpful for you. Hopefully, we can get more useful sessions for you in the future. So thank you very much. Thank you to Christopher as well for sharing a lot of insights for us today. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.